Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be reviewing all of the upcoming cards for next season in January, which seems to be a dragon-focused Shang-Chi season. This is my first time doing this, so I'm going to be giving you guys a bit of an insight into my thought process here. I'm going to rate these cards from 1 to 5 and just kind of give my general ideas of where I think they'll probably fit. Sort of like archetypes, and then later down the line when these cards release, I'll check back into my star rating and see just how I did and how wrong I was. So, first up, we have Shou-Lao the Undying. This card is a 5/10 and reads, on reveal, give the last character you played +3 power for each turn you've played 2 or more cards. And it does have a little tracker to let you know how many times you've done that. And it is a season pass card, so this is pretty cool. Quite clearly supposed to be more of a Athena type card. I do think that could be where it fits. I am for sure going to be trying this in my Merlin deck, the one that I keep pushing, mainly because it does genuinely get me to Infinite every season. But this card, giving the last character you played +3 for each turn you played 2 or more. So it doesn't mean you have to just play 2 cards. It's just for each turn you played 2 or more cards. This has me thinking, like, in that deck, I'll pop it up on screen. I have Hood, which, I mean, turn 1 you can't really do too much, but like Mysterio, turn 2, that's still 2 or more cards technically, I suppose. I imagine it would work that way. Then you have Merlin and Merlin spells. I always plan to play like a Merlin spell with something, and I'll play Bishop and then a Merlin spell, or just like what's it called, Sentry and then a Merlin spell. Then this card I could always play on turn 6 with another Merlin spell, something like that. I mean, the spells from Merlin give you the ability to play multiple. I do think most people are going to be looking towards Kitty Pryde for this, which, I mean, makes sense. I do think it would work there quite well as well. I haven't really looked at many deck ideas for this currently. Some people playing more focused around... I see like some people are going for like some zombie style decks, which I do think could make sense as well. There's quite a lot of just upcoming things that do need a bit more exploration for sure until we know in the upcoming seasons. I am going to give this card a 4-star. I was close to giving it a 5-star. I mean, by default it's a 5/10. And the ceiling on this card is what, like 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 15. I mean, it could be a 5-cost 25 power card. In all honesty, I don't think that's too difficult to match either. So maybe I do give it 5. I'll give it 4.5. If I come back at the end and I haven't given a card 5 stars, I will give this card 5 stars. I do think it's very strong. Next up, we have Lockheed. Lockheed is a 2/1 and reads, end of turn. If you've played a 1-cost card this turn, afflict an enemy card here with -2 power. Now, correct me if I'm wrong again, but I believe this is Kitty Pryde's Dragon, which makes a lot of sense because Kitty Pryde is a 1-cost card that you pretty much play every turn because it returns to your hand. So playing her alongside this makes a lot of sense. I do think it could also work in a bounce deck, and because it is at end of turn, which brings it down for me slightly, because if you're not playing at turn 2, its power level drops off quite a bit. I mean, imagine playing this on turn 6, it's a 2/3, still countered by Luke Cage, and Luke Cage might be an upcoming conversation because a lot of these cards afflict damage and a lot of recent cards afflict damage, and it's starting to make me wonder if Luke Cage is going to become a catch-all kind of thing. But we'll see. He is an important card for the game, I know that much, but unless they revert him back to just protecting cards from damage in that lane, not sure. But that's not exactly what we're talking about here. Lockheed, It's Series 5. I think that means it's the Super Premium Season Pass card. Could be incorrect. But looking at this, it seems legit. Unless it's Dragon of the Moon. It's whichever one of those. Lockheed seems more likely, because I think Lockheed seems more powerful. Still don't think the ceiling is great. I mean, what is the ceiling? Let's have a look, because you can't play a 1-cost card on turn 2 with it, so you can only get 3 procs, technically. Making sure you've played a 1-cost card every turn with Kitty Pryde, that becomes likely. So it becomes a 2/7. I think Chamber is surpassing this almost all the time. And the fact that your enemy has to have a card in that lane isn't always guaranteed either. I think I'm going to give this card a 3-star. I do think it's good, and I do think it will probably end up seeing some form of meta play, but I don't think it compares to Shou-Lao at all. And next up we have Majestic Wingbeat. This card is a 1-cost skill and reads on reveal, give your leftmost card in your hand +2 power. If it's 5 cost or higher, -1 cost 2. Now, the ability seems good. If you're just giving a card 1 power, it's very unreliable. It's almost like targeting discard the left card in your hand, right? But if it's 5 cost or higher, -1 cost, I mean, there's probably some Thanos or Agatha-based usage for this. I could probably see Thanos. My only complaint is, does this really fit into a 12-card deck? Because the same way Web Sling, the card seems good and it does have a strong power, as I know somebody mentioned in my tier list comment section recently. It's just, does it value a deck slot? Because we're kind of limited with deck slots, and unless it's really trying to pull something off, I don't think it's going to hit the ceiling. At most, it's a 1-cost or a 0-cost +2 power, but it's only to a specific card in your hand that hasn't been played yet. I don't really see this card doing too much, to be honest with you. I think I'm going to give it a 2-star. Maybe that's being harsh, but until I can think of some other ideas, just having a look at decks now. Yeah, nothing seems to be out there. Even in a deck with spellcaster things, you don't tend to go too high unless you have Shou-Lao left in your hand. I'll see. It could be a fun card to experiment with, but off the top of my head I can't really think of too much, so I'll stick with the 2 stars. After that, this should be the card released in that week, is Dragon of the Moon. And this is a 3-cost 2 power card that reads, on reveal, steal 1 power from all even costed cards in all hands. Now this card, I know people are really low on it, and I think realistically it's not hitting upper levels either. I know it's got the moon synergy, so Moon Knight and Khonshu. Although I suppose Khonshu technically doesn't really have anything to do with even costed cards, but Moon Knight is hits an even costed card. Stealing 1 power from all cards in hands means it will always bypass Luke Cage, right? Because the cards are on play for Luke Cage to work. So you will still steal the power and then play the cards afterwards. Compared to Lao Fei, I think that makes it better, but the only downside is you can't predict what power cards your opponent will have in their hand, except one way of this is Master Mold. Now, Master Mold did get buffed recently, and I have a feeling it was to push people to think about it a little bit more. I know its buff wasn't great, it went from a 2/2 to a 2/3, but it does put 2 even costed cards in your opponent's hand. I think this is a good card to go with Master Mold that doesn't make the Master Mold style decks too obnoxious. Because you're putting the cards in the hand and stealing it from that, you're not just trying to flood their hand even more. But it does limit this card to be that kind of deck only, because otherwise you would probably just want to play Cassandra Nova, right? Guarantee taking all the power from your opponent's cards in their deck. Because I want that kind of archetype to kind of be explored a little more. I don't want it to become meta, don't get me wrong, because that would be a terrifying thing to keep constantly playing against. But I don't know. I think it's decent. I do think I'm going to be... Could be controversial, but I'm going to put it on the same level as Lockheed and give it a 3-star. Ceiling on this card could be huge, honestly. Depends just how many even-costed cards you and your opponent have in your hands. It could be to the level where you have 1 and they have 2 and it becomes like a 3-5. Which isn't great, but then you're still taking 2 power from their cards, so it's then technically like a 3-7. But then if they have like 4 or 5 even-costed cards in their hand, because like say you've master molded them, all of a sudden this is a 3-7, then you're negating 5 power from them, which technically makes it a 3-12. And then if you're taking it from your own side as well, and you're Luke Caging your own side, you're not really like losing out on any of the benefits. I think this card could actually hit upper levels, but I'm not going to go any higher than 3, I don't think. Next up we have Lin Lie Iron Fist. Now, this card is a 2/2 and reads on reveal, add the sword of Shou-Z, I think I'm saying that correctly, to another location. Now, this sword is a 2/2 that reads, ongoing, if Lin Lie Iron Fist is here, he has +7 power. So, I can't remember who pointed this out, but it is really cool. This Lin Lie character is apparently Swordmaster once he has the Iron Fist. And the sword token has the Swordmaster text and the, well, it's like Iron Fist, I suppose. The actual Swordmaster guy has the Iron Fist style text, which is really cool. I love that kind of stuff. I'm very much a game design nerd in that aspect. But yeah, the ceiling on this card, so it's a 2/2 that puts a 2/2 somewhere else. It's kind of a 2/4 by default, which is kind of now average for a 2/2, I think. But if you can then move it, and then it gets to, like, what is it? It gets +7 power, so it gets to 2/9. It's basically a 2/11, which I think is surpassing Chamber, which I think then makes this card quite high. I think the card isn't super interesting, but it's getting you to play the game differently. It's more interactive than a card like Chamber. And I don't know, I think it could be fun for people who enjoy that kind of archetype. I don't think I would, personally. But I don't think it's too difficult to get it to work. The only downside is you can't predict which location the sword's going to go to. So which means like a Ranya then becomes useless. You can't Iron Fist it before because you don't know where it's going to go. You can only really Ghost Spider it, Heimdall it, or like other things that allow you to move it afterwards. Which really limits just how many moves, because even a card like Topaz, right, moves it to the middle location, you can't guarantee the sword will be there. I do think there's a lot of move cards that don't let you know for sure. It would be great with Madam Web though. I think for that reason it kind of has to be... I might give it 4 stars, you know. Because I'm thinking like Sam Wilson levels, it's probably going to surpass Sam Wilson quite a lot of the time just from one move. Now its move isn't guaranteed, that makes it more difficult, but a 2/11 isn't anything to scoff at really. Next up we have Fang Foom, which is a 7 cost 12 power card. Now, this card's on reveal reads, gain the power of front row enemy cards here. It's an interesting one. The ceiling on this card could be huge. I mean, it depends what your opponent is playing really. But sadly I only see this card going in one deck. And it's Hela. I suppose it could go in a deck with like Surge, or a deck that goes to turn 7 or anything like that, but when do you ever realistically just want to play like a big chunky card if you're putting all of your efforts into getting it? Because if you look at something like Zombie Galactus, or Zombie Galacti, it needs a turn 7. And it needs a bit more setup than this, to be fair. But it also converts all your cards into its power. Whereas this is just like one chunky card on one board space. I think I'm going to give it... I'm going to give it 4 stars. Because I think it's always going to surpass something like... what's it called? Dormammu. And it needs less effort than Dormammu as well. But I think 4 stars is probably decent. I'm not excited for this card though, which is making me want to put it lower, but if I'm being realistic, it's probably going to be quite strong. It's in Hela by default now, I think. It's going to replace Scar. And it's going to be scary, I won't lie. I think that's all that really needs to be said for it. Its lowest ceiling is a 7/12, and if it's hitting 7/12, you're winning the lane because your opponent has no cards there in that case. I do think it's strong. Not an exciting card for me personally anyway. Maybe it's exciting for some of you. Okay, next up we have Shang-Chi, Master of the Rings, which is a 3-cost 5 power card that reads, game start, the 10 rings start in your hand. On reveal, unlock their potential. So this card was a little bit of a confusing one for me to actually figure out completely what it did. But it adds a 2/0 10 rings to your hand, which is end of turn, give one of your other cards here +1 power. And then when you unlock their potential becomes end of turn, give all of your other cards here +1 power. Which is kind of insane. This card could probably fit into almost any deck you can think of. If it's in an end of turn deck, it's going to be insane. I don't really see how this card won't be broken. I think it has to be a 5-star card. It's adding it to your hand, which it's not like it starts in your deck or anything. You're guaranteed to have it. I do think that if they made it start in your deck, then it would probably be more balanced. But if you play a 1-cost card, play it on there, it buffs it. If you play Shang-Chi on top of that same location, they both get +1 power. Then all you need to do is just play another random card there, and then what? So what are we looking at? 5 cost altogether, 1 power on the first turn, 2 power on the second turn, that's 3. Well, I guess +1 power on the second turn, +2 power on the third turn, that's 3. Then on turn 4 is 3, which is 6, turn 5 is 3, which is 9, and 3, which is 12, and then the base card itself is 5. So it becomes a 5/17. Now, I think if we were looking at, what was the card called? Shou-Lao. Shou-Lao has a higher ceiling than this, but I think this is an easier thing to do. I'm thinking about it a bit more. I don't know if it's going to be as strong as Shou-Lao, actually. Because you do still have to draw Shang-Chi, and in those games where you don't draw Shang-Chi, that card you've played, if you played it on turn 2, is like a 2... Guaranteed you have a 1-cost card? It's a 2/5, which isn't bad either. But you need Shang-Chi to actually increase the ability. But then, I suppose I'm not really talking about how, yeah, if you have Sebastian Shaw in that lane, and this is always a Surfer card, if you have Maverick in that lane, yeah, I guess it has a lot of combo cards, so maybe I am sticking with the 5-star thing for this. It's going to be kind of busted. And I think that's about all I have to say about this card, really. And then, last but not least, we have Dragon Lord, which is a 5/5. On reveal, put a card from your hand here. I mean, that's it. This card is interesting. I mean, it's kind of like an effect like this. I would have imagined would have already been in the game by now. I don't know if it's strong enough. It's for the limited time event, which I think fits in power level wise. But if you think about like Eson, I guess Eson's ability is harder to pull off but it's 6/10 that pulls a create a card every turn. And then you have Red Wing, which is I think a 3/5, and when you move it, it pulls a card from your hand. Now Red Wing is good, but do you really want to spend your turn 5 playing a card like this? Maybe. It might not be the worst thing, plus it's a chamber card for sure. I think I'm going to give it 3 stars for now. Until it sees play, I can see this card doing better than 3 stars, but for now, I think I'm happy giving it 3 stars. Now there's another card here which I've seen. It isn't on the list of upcoming releases, but people are including it in decks, so maybe correct me if I'm wrong with saying this is for next season, because it says it releases in 2 years on this website, so maybe I'm completely incorrect. But based on its name, the brand of Shou-Lao, I kind of assumed it would be within this season. And it's a 1-cost spell that reads, on reveal, one of your other cards here steals 2 power from the character that costs the most in your opponent's hand. Now, I think this probably has more use cases. There's something like the Wingbeat card and something like the Web Sling. It doesn't hit Deafening Chord or Zombie Horde levels though. But a 1-cost skill that gives one of your other cards 2 power by default, you're also taking it from the opponent, kind of makes it a 1/4, which is already above statted, and it doesn't even take a board space. And if you're playing it on like a Sebastian Shaw or Maverick or those kind of things, then you're going to get even bigger stonks with this. I think I'll rate it at 4 stars for now. I think I'm quite comfortable putting it there, although I'm not entirely sure when this releases, but I'm going to assume it's next season. So that wraps it up for all of the cards in the upcoming season. Please let me know what you guys think, if you agree with my rankings or if you think I'm completely off. This is my first time doing this, so I'm going to be excited to see how these cards actually do afterwards. And yeah, if you guys did like the video, I will leave these puppies here to hopefully convince you to subscribe. I know they would be very happy if you did, as much as I would. It means a lot, honestly. And yeah, that's about it for now. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will speak to you all next time.